Tuesday morning. My fan away. So yesterday we left off at the intellectual. Today we're going to read about the Queen Executive. Curious about this one. Archetype family, royal. Other expressions, CEO, princess. Life journey, to learn how to be responsible for the well. Huh. Unique challenge, to identify the cause or causes in which it is worth investing your power and influence. Universal lesson, to differentiate between authentic power and illusionary power. Defining grace, generosity. Inner shadow, compromising your integrity to maintain your throne. Maybe I should read that one again. I know many people who fall into this. Compromising your integrity, your throne. I've definitely compromised my integrity, but never to maintain any throne. Male counterpart, the king. Myth and the queen. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Don't start acting like you have Tourette's. The queen, executive partnering regal femininity with business acumen. Myth of the queen, executive, the queen. Executive partnering regal femininity with business acumen. Huh. Behavior patterns and the characteristics of the queen. Takes charge of situations for maximum results. Commands center stage without even trying. Uses her influence to empower others. Looks her best at all times. Lifestyle challenge, sharing power in intimate relationships. Excuse me. Life journey. Okay, you know what? I'm trying to read. If you're going to start pawing at me, my face, the book, I'm going to have to ask you. Of the sofa. Existed in one form or another since human beings first organized themselves into hierarchical roles. This is an archetype with an stop. With an inherited destiny. What are you doing? A queen's title is bestowed upon her, hence the word entitled. And her power is not personal power, but power on loan, granted by the state. Kings and queens are symbolic carriers of the collective power of the people they rule. And your life journey is about learning to be responsible for the well-being of others. There are two queens from British history, Elizabeth I and Victoria, who gave form to the queen archetype as we know it today. Elizabeth I, daughter of King Henry the eighth, and Anne Boleyn, ruled for over 44 years in the 16th century. She was the embodiment of power, independence, and utter brilliance, a strategist of the highest order and equally beguiling as a woman. Elizabeth carved out the identity of the Queen as an independent force who commands power over men but is never captured by any one man. She was a woman of intense passions, from wild rages to rapturous love. She was selfish and generous, intuitive and paranoid, far-sighted and superstitious, all in extreme. Larger than life qualities and emotions are at the core of the Queen archetype today. Elizabeth's archetypal successor in the modern world is the Queen executive. A new archetype. This is a partnering of noble force, the Queen, with the contemporary concept of power associated with business and finance, the executive. The woman who no longer believes she has to compromise her femininity in order to achieve her professional goals. The Queen Executive represents the quintessential partnership of archetypal power. Queen Victoria, the second historical influence on today's royal family, was nearly the exact opposite of Elizabeth I. Well, Elizabeth Victoria married Prince Albert, whom she adored, and together they had 9 children and 26 grandchildren, who ended up populating the royal house of Europe. Victoria was the longest ruling queen in history, although the present queen, Elizabeth II, may just break that record. During her reign, the British Empire reached its zenith, as did the attitude of aristocratic entitlement that remains a characteristic of the queen archetype. Victor- that's not right. Victorian prop- propriety, that's it. Propriety, etiquette, and elegance transferred in subtle ways to today's women who have a strong queen operating in their psyches. Queens are drawn to elegant clothing, quality jewelry, and fine dining. Moreover, if you feel entitled to have these status symbols in your life, some queens will make light of their sense of entitlement, but believe me, they're not joking. The operative word at the heart of the life journey of the queen is privilege. However, privilege needs to be understood on more than one level. The ordinary mind views privilege and entitlement as one and the same. We believe that the more power we attain, the more license we have to behave as we wish. The Queen sees herself as above the laws that govern the rest of us. But associating privilege with personal power has its pitfalls. A queen, as a queen, the challenge for you is to rise above the temptation to use the power bestowed upon you for personal gains. The power may be bestowed upon by corporations, associations, business, family, whatever its source. You need to handle it wisely, lest other people suffer consequences of your self-serving far-reaching have far-reaching consequences. Influencing their being in a position of power influence, however grand or humble your kingdom, your arena might be. You may have worked hard to earn your position, as many queen executives have helped you achieve it. For the queen or king or executive, the life journey also involves learning how to manage a position of power and influence. A stereotypic view of the queen take charge never take them. Those traits, however, are more likely to be found in the control freak or the bully. Read this. The queen archetype, charismatic. She recognizes her responsibility to others and is motivated by positions of authority in business, society, philanthropy, and community work. All, even the title of mom qualifies as a privileged position. If you are the whole one your family looks to for love and advice. Despite the status and authority that with power, it is the princess we associate with romance and delight is seen as unapproachable, romantic, safe, approaching a queen for a date. Your queen can be mighty lonely at the top. Are benevolence, generosity, mercy, as they themselves are unable to do. Unique challenge. The queens want to be seen out and about, to exercise her power and make a difference in her realm. More potential queen. More potential queen. Diplomat. As a social. Other diplomacy personified. To send and open today's business. As such, receive wide notice. Donna Karan, Vera Wang, Martha Stewart, Oprah Winfrey are among the executives in this benevolent, especially embodies the queen archetype in that she is known for her far-reaching but philanthropic work and act identity. If you have this archetype, you will go to war with your psychic energies of the archetype. You end up feeling useless. Are contemporary expressions of the grand archetypes that have shaped ritual for centuries. Assured that if you symbolically have royal blood, you can't resist being treated like life. Universal lesson: learning to be a queen archetype. Our society is obsessed with power, influence, fame, the power to change others' lives. We fight tooth and nail to happiness and well-being. But as the boot worldly power offers bring over our lives, confronting the illusion of power is particularly potent lesson for the queen executive for confrontation. Who is the ruler maker? Even a pride of lions, the defeated males to head off and begin prides of their own. The lesson of mastering your own nature, your own power drive, if you will, is woven into the DNA of the queen archetype. It is up to you as a queen to come to terms with what qualifies as power for you, and or does it arise as a function of healthy self that comes from an external source of illusionary and fleeting, while power that emanates from within is authentic and lasting? History tells us that most queens and kings spend the majority of their reign fretting over who had more power, wealth, armies, and influence. The greatest fear of the powerful is to become powerless. As a queen archetype, you must confront that fear, as once it is running in your psyche, everything around you becomes a potential threat. A queen can become uncomfortable, if not physically ill, in situations she finds threatening. Princess Diana suffered from bulimia, manifesting her feeling of vulnerability in the power zone of the British monarchy. If you have the queen archetype, you are likely to find yourself in one situation after another in which your lesson is to discern authentic from illusionary power. If the choices you make leave you feeling drained and disempowered, then you have given away your power to an illusion. But when the choices you make leave you feeling full and empowered, self contained but not arrogant, you are on the right path. You are learning how to interact with power while not losing yourself to it. Defining grace, generosity. Generosity is the defining grace of the queen archetype. This grace needs to be understood for the potential it holds to transform your life. One of my books, Invisible Acts of Power, is about the power we have to make a difference in people's lives by responding spontaneously and often invisibly to their needs. I wrote it because I wanted to explore my hunch that we are both with an intuitive sense of others' needs that develop with increasing acuity as we become more aware. Generosity begins with an instinctive response to need. The sight of a needy person or a community hit by a natural disaster tugs at your heartstrings. Helping people with food, the helper, feel good. But generosity that requires little effort and makes you level of a grace is not about making, rather it is open doors for other people or helping about your to make things for other people. Sort of generosity, introductions, or opportunities often have the power, may take the form of providing opportunities or even positive feedback. Coming from a queen or a king makes all the difference in the world to the recipient power. Generosity, you will understand that this power is essentially spiritual. The most profound acts of generosity are those that empower others to realize their own potential. You don't need to be a wealthy or powerful queen or king to access this grace. You simply need to have reached a level of self-empowerment that enables you to recognize that empowering others is your finest achievement and not a threat to your own power. So the grace of generosity awakens in you when you are in the presence of someone only you can help, because of something you can do, say, or provide. This grace can to make humanitarian commitment. Further, the grace of generosity, the shadow side of the queen archetype is the pull to compromise your beliefs that keep separate from others. Heart, be compassionate heart. Inner shadow, challenge for the queen or king, because power and authority are so seductive and addictive, as well as so much a part of this archetype's essential nature. Few queens or kings relish the idea of losing control of their realms. The inner shadow of this archetype can awaken you in tremendous insecurity about your ability to maintain your throne, not to mention to keep tabs on all the backbiting and power bargaining that goes on behind the throne. Such activities are notorious in any organization in which power is the main currency. That applies to corporations, certainly, but even to some nonprofits. When there aren't large sums of money to broker, high salaries, huge bonuses, stock options, profit sharing, jockeying for power assumes greater importance. The shadow challenge for the queen or king, particularly executive power brokers, is that inevitably you will be asked to trade is the power of your. You can sense the presence of character, feeling of insecurity arising, and archetypes share many power tendencies. Yet the king archetypes share many power tendencies. Yet the king differs from the queen in that he can enter the arena of politics and wage war more comfortably than she can. The world expects aggressive behavior from kings, executives, and therefore is not surprised to witness these characteristics. But the same behavior from a queen executive elicits a harsher reaction, given that bold leadership is still seen by many to be at odds with femininity. When it comes to money and power, it remains a man's world for the most part, and kings know how to wield these forces while wrapping them in dazzling charm, with the emphasis on the dazzling charm. While men with other archetypes have money and power, kings have something they don't: the power of enchantment. Modern day kings can thank the mystic King Arthur for that archetypical magic dust. Were it not for King Arthur and Camelot, women wouldn't still be so physically attached to the archetypes of the king and the knight. But contemporary kings are not just about enchantment. King executives often envision their professional worlds as lands to conquer and acquire. Corporate executives who absorb one company after another are examples of this archetype. Wall Street bankers are also likely to have king executive archetype, as are politicians and individuals in positions of financial or global power. Like the rulers of old, modern day king ex- like the rulers of old, modern day king executives are driven not just by accumulating wealth, but by establishing a network of power and influence over a realm of people. All kings like their castles, no doubt about that. How many times have you driven by a grand mansion and remarked, "My word, that looks like a palace"? Chances are it was a man with a king archetype or a woman with a had that house built. Doubt they built it. Myths of the queen executive. Even though the queen executive is a new archetype on the scene, it represents an ancient rise to a new pattern of power for contemporary women. Of the queen as a regal force through history, with the masculine power symbolic of today's corporate executive. The partnership allows women to attain leadership positions without feeling like they must act like men or dress in power suits in order to gain a seat in the boardroom. Because society has yet to create positive myths reflecting the rise of powerful, successful women. Only now are we calling forth women who actually clearly embody this archetypical duo. Oprah Winfrey and Barbara Walters, for example, are regal, feminine, and known to be kind and generous to other people they work with, while also embodying the skills of savvy of today's business people of either sex. Queen executive women are moving into influential position in finance and politics, as well as the corporate world. There have been isolated examples of women in top political jobs. Israel, India, and the United Kingdom, for example, have all had women prime ministers, and Germany does today. But none of those women have embodied the queen executive archetype as the full expression of feminine power and corporate power. There is a lingering assumption that a woman in harmony with political compromise, the feminine side of her life in order to achieve a successful position, marriage, is partnership and motherhood. To some extent, archetypal pattern whose time has come, achieving the perfect balance can be a challenge. It requires you to maintain your femininity while simultaneously drawing on what are considered masculine power qualities, like being direct, a tough negotiator, and willing to undertake financial risk. It takes time to experience an evolving archetype to work its way into society. One sign that a new archetype has taken hold is that people began to create stories or produce films in which the lead character is exactly that archetype. Oops. In The Devil Wears Prada, the queen executive is portrayed as powerful, ruthless magazine editor based, according to some, on the longtime Vogue editor on Wintour, a film that portrays a benevolent queen. The time is coming as more queen executives grow comfortable in positions of executives and women at the same time. And film and television will no doubt reflect that. They will cease having to power plays to stay empowered as many personal relationships are accustomed to taking up all the oxygen in the room. So this archetype, it can be very difficult to come home, wind down, and fall into the role of equal partner. But if you think the alternative, coming home to a bossy queen, would be pleasant, think again. As a queen, your challenge is cooperation, support, friends. Recognize control freak barking orders at her minion, definitely not. Grace of generosity to hold court, particularly where you can take charge of the event down to the last detail. Bringing people together and caring for the group is inherent in this archetypical pattern. As a queen, you take your responsibilities seriously. Recognizing that ultimately a noble queen is the servant of her subjects, and that your decision and behavior can have a dramatic effect on the lives of others. Your greatest power and authority comes from doing all you can for those who rely on you. But make no mistake, for all your generosity, if you have the queen archetype, your true home is center stage. Even if you are simply waiting for a bus or your limo, you command the attention of those around you. For that reason, you always need to look your best. No running out to the market in sweats, no makeup. Above all, you need to exercise your power with utmost integrity. That's a forgotten word, integrity. Do you even know what that means anymore? For better or worse, the queen is always in the spotlight. Does this sound like you? If you're still not sure, review the list of behavior patterns and characteristics on the opposite page to see if they seem familiar. Behavior patterns and characteristics of the queen executive. To take charge of situations for the sake of achieving maximum results. You make things happen for other people. Empowering others is your finest achievement. You are direct in dealing with others and let people know what you expect of them. You absolutely must look your best at all times. You pour your energy into worthwhile causes. You're never just a figurehead. You use your influence to make a difference in people's lives. You work hard to uphold your character and values. You naturally end up in positions of power and authority, even when you don't actively seek them. You can be intimidating to people who are trying to get close to you. You command center stage without trying, wherever you are. You have a demanding job that puts you in the public eye. You may not give orders, but no question, you're the person in charge. Step into your archetype, tapping into the power of the Queen Executive. The Queen archetype is about power, and your challenge is to discern authentic power from power that is illusionary. By nature, you have a sense of entitlement, but you will need crown to you will need humility. The Queen to wear power is a privilege, not a tool for dominance over others. It's cares whether mind paradox for an archetype that is so power driven is that you find your greatest power and authority in doing your best for any ability to empower others. Your queen is most powerfully expressed when you can your archetype. But even if yours doesn't, you can undoubtedly find some. Not only will you be giving someone the benefit of your experience, every organization has a legacy. It's impossible to imagine that with this art if it isn't contained in some sort of venture, you'll like yourself or kingdom. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter what, as long as you're well rounded. It doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It could be answering phones, but the philanthropic drive is so strong in this archetype that I wouldn't be surprised if you're running the organization before long. Your access to resources and skill in persuading others to invest them in your project is unmatched. Cook dinner for two. Okay, order in if you must. But one way or another, spend a quiet evening at home with your significant other or dear friend or beloved family member. Turn off your phone. Turn down your megawatt personality and have a few hours together without distractions. Or, this is important, power plays. Power plays drain your energy, but serving others fills the well. Intimacy and give and take are not inherent strengths of the queen, so you need to make an effort to develop these skills. Try not to focus on what you hope to get out of the evening. Just be there, fully present. Redecorate the castle. You have to sleep somewhere, as well as have a place to host those parties that queens and kings are renowned for. This archetype is generally meticulous about details, so why not make sure that your dwelling lives up to the regal standards you've set for the rest of your life? Make it truly a place to hold court. I can see it clearly. Sumptuous fabrics, arresting artwork, the finest furniture you can afford, elegant and luxurious without being ostentatious. You treat your guests like royalty and send them home thinking that there's no place as magical as your castle. Short of Buckingham Palace and Versailles, there probably isn't. Since power is so important for your archetype, take a tip from wise queens and kings and make choices that leave you feeling full and empowered rather than drained. Here are some ways to tap into your power effectively. Where you gain power. Cultivating self-esteem. You can hold your center when attention comes your way, as it inevitably does. Investing your power and influence in worthwhile endeavors. A queen without a queendom feels useless, which can lead to acting out of depression. Forming intimate relationships that are mutually supportive. Queen power can be intimidating. Don't blind others with your radiance, but create a partnership of equals. Putting your integrity above all else. Your goal is not to maintain your throne, but to use your power and authority to serve others. Exercising humility. It is an illusion to think over others than you do over the winds and tides. Where you lose your power and how to regain it. Generosity is the grace of the queen. They could disappear in a flash. Real power comes with enlightened self-awareness. Misusing your power for personal gain. Other people's needs are a queen's first priority. Gossiping. Negative talk is a slippery slope, leading to fear and paranoia. Don't give in to envy and backstabbing. Forgetting that power is an aphrodisiac. Hold your center when confronting the illusion of power. Allowing privilege to give you a false sense of entitlement. You're an ordinary human being with ordinary human issues, no matter how big your realm. Indulging in power plays. This is the easiest way to compromise your integrity and that of any group you're representing. Corporations have fallen like soldiers on a battlefield in recent decades because the king executives have stolen the treasury for themselves. Keep your hands clean. Checklist for the queen executive. I take care not to abuse power for personal gain. I use my influence for those who need them. I value my relationships and am working on being a true partner. Final thoughts. Remember that what makes you an archetypal queen is not riches or palaces or commanding a nation, but the capacity to make life better for others. A true world through your generosity. Queen in her world. You can be as much a queen at home with your partner as you are in running a business. It isn't the setting that makes you a queen. You bring your queen into whatever room or situation you enter. So if you have the queen archetype, make the most of the queen in you. Oh, that was an intense one for me. I've dealt with many shadow queens in my life.